Back in January of 2023, when this channel had like 200 subscribers, I made a Godzilla tier list video where I ranked every single Godzilla movie in the entire franchise. In a recent live stream that was here on YouTube, I wanted to remake this entire tier list video. After all, the original ranking was released before -1 and the new Empire came out. Plus, my opinions have gradually changed since then, so it's nice to do a bit of an update of sorts. Godzilla 1954. For me, this is S tier right off the bat. Godzilla 54, if you've seen my retrospective, you know why I love it, but the sort of Spark Notes version is, I think that it is a horrifying movie that was made at the perfect time for Japan. It was essentially a vessel for the Japanese people to get all their trauma out there and to express themselves in a way that they hadn't really been able to because of American censorship. Now, historical stuff aside, I absolutely just adore this movie. It is a technical marvel. Beyond the whole, man in the suit stuff, you look at all the miniatures, it's wonderful to look at. If you want to hear more of my thoughts on this, check out the retrospective. Yeah, Raids Again. If you remember, the original title of that video was Why It's a Failure as a Sequel. And I'm going to put it in either D or F. I think I'm going to go F for now. And as it goes on, I'm probably going to move it up to D. But for now, it's F. A lot of the reason behind this is that it is a slog of a movie to get through. And on top of that, Anguirus is cool, right? Anguirus alone should make this a D, in my opinion. However... that there's more to the movie than just Anguirus, and it is not a good movie whatsoever. Now, why? Well, what made Gojira, the 54 movie, so great was that it had these wonderful themes of, warning of the devastation that nuclear warfare can cause, and it was just a very soulful movie, whereas Godzilla Raids Again is nothing more than a cash grab. Again, if you've seen my retrospective, you know my thoughts on this by now. If you haven't, I recommend go checking it out. But the gist of it is, watching Godzilla 54 and watching Raids Again is night and day for me. It is one of those things where, when you watch it, you are like, this is more like Son of Kong than King Kong, if that makes sense. It is a lackluster sequel that was only made for the money. Just covered it on the channel. For me, this is a B tier. Very solid B tier. And the reason why is, it's a whole lot of fun, but it still manages to be smart, and it manages to be a very, very well done critique of Japanese television in the 1960s, whereas Godzilla Raids Again, I didn't really get any themes from it. So that's kind of like my biggest issue. We're going to go next to Mothra versus Godzilla, which I'm writing the script for that right now, so you're going to get a little bit of a sneak preview of my thoughts on that and where it's at. So for Mothra versus Godzilla, I'm ranking this B, but I'm going to rank it ahead of King Kong versus Godzilla. Now, Mothra versus Godzilla is, in my opinion, like one of the most overrated Godzilla movies, but that doesn't make it a bad movie. I feel like a lot of people love this movie for good reason. There's a lot to love with Mothra versus Godzilla. But, and yeah, the Dino Collector, it is a classic. I agree with you 100%. But I feel like so many people treat it like it's a masterpiece when it is still very flawed. And some of those flaws I'll go over in my video. However, there are some insanely good moments. I talked about it in my darkest Godzilla moments in history video. The part where they're like bombarding Godzilla with everything they have, the military. It's a wonderful scene. Godzilla's head starts on fire, and it is a incredible sequence. It's a modern marvel of tokusatsu, and I just adore it 100%. It has its moments. However, there are some things about it that I don't like. The human drama just doesn't really do it for me. So yeah, we're going to put it at B for now. Again, might be moving up to A. It's one of these where it's sort of in between here. So for now, we're going to put it in B, and we're going to put Raids Again back in F just because I was yapping. Okay, Ghidra the three-headed monster. Even though it's Ghidorah, for some reason in the movie, I always feel like they say Ghidra. So for this instance, I will just say Ghidra, just to make it simple. Ghidra the three-headed monster, the introduction to King Ghidorah, I'm going to put it C tier, just because, while it is awesome seeing all of the monsters, Rodan, Mothra, Godzilla fight, King Ghidorah. That stuff's awesome. King Ghidorah is, yet again, a modern marvel in tokusatsu. It still holds up, having the heads like flap around and shit. Love it. It's awesome. However, the way that the monsters are characterized is something that I'm not a big fan of. I don't like how they are more human-like. And I know that that's kind of something that we'll see later on a lot more, but this is sort of where that's established. And it's something that just drives me nuts. We see this a lot with Godzilla X Kong, so that was probably my least favorite, is where the kaijus act more like people than animals or just monsters in general. Next, we got Invasion of the Astro Monster. This might be my hottest take. Some of you may disagree, and that's okay. That's what we're here for. Is A tier. I know, crazy, right? So, here's the thing with Invasion of the Astro Monster that I just love. I love Star Trek, right? The original Star Trek series with William Shatner and all that. This feels like Star Trek meets Godzilla in the best way possible. It takes Ghidorah the three-headed monster and it elevates it tenfold. It makes it so much more interesting. Look, I hate when people say this, but it's the vibes, right? The vibes are just there. And I don't know how to really elaborate beyond that. Just saying that, like, I love the music. I believe it's Akira Ifukube that did the music for that one. It is incredible. It is, like, I listen to that soundtrack constantly. The sort of like the metronome type vibe, everything about it is just so classic. And it's one of my favorites. I feel like it isn't talked about enough. I'm going to have a lot to say, by the way, in my retrospective on it, so stay tuned for that. Up next, we got the one that everyone ripped on me for hating, because in my Dr. Skipper video, my now infamous Dr. Skipper video, I was shitting on this movie, and the gist of it is Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster, or Ebra Horror of the Deep, is, for me, F tier. One of the worst in the Showa series, and a lot of people didn't really understand fully why I hate this movie, so I'll be very, very, very kind of brief with this, because again, I'm making retrospectives on all these. So with Ebra Horror of the Deep, the thing that I hate the most about it is that it doesn't feel like a Godzilla movie, right? The thing with Ebra Horror of the Deep is it's more or less like a James Bond, Robinson Crusoe type of movie, and those were very popular in the 60s, you know? And that's okay if Toho wants to make one of those. But the issue is when it becomes a like when you make it a Godzilla movie. Now, behind the scenes, this was supposed to be a King Kong movie, and you really feel that while watching this. The way that Godzilla ogles the female character. Again, I'm sorry I haven't watched this in a minute, so again, because I'm doing all the retrospectives. However, the way he ogles her just creeps me out and feels wrong. It's like borderline like bestiality. Like, it's nasty. Beyond that, too, just everything about it feels wrong for Godzilla. The giant condor fight is terrible. Ebra, while interesting, I mean, I own an Ebra figure somewhere. I'm not a full-on Ebra hater, right? I have an Ebra figure. Ebra is cool. Ebra has potential, but the movie is just not good. Ebra works as a sort of side monster, or like how Ebra was used in Final Wars, where it's just an easy little kill to get. For Godzilla to fight Ebra as the main villain, not interesting to me. What I do like, though, is how Ebra is used by the terrorist group, I believe they're called the Red Bamboo, to keep the people on the island. That is a genius sort of setup, but that's why, though, it would work better as a B monster, if that makes sense, where it's not the main adversary. It's a cool design, I agree with you, the Dino Collector, but for me, it just doesn't seem like it should be a main Godzilla monster. It just really doesn't. The island thing that so the aspect of the movie that I actually like a lot is the island vibe, and this is something where it was sort of started with Ebra Horror of the Deep, but it was perfected with the next movie, and that is Son of Godzilla. Son of Godzilla is a very, very well done movie that gets a lot of hate. I like it a lot. We're going to put it right here at C. I know you may be thinking, well, you're saying it's well done, you know, it's under C. Well, again, this sort of falls into the same boat as Ebra Horror of the Deep, where it's very much a, like, not a Godzilla movie, but it kind of is. Son of Godzilla takes that island vibe that was laid out in Ebra Horror of the Deep, perfects it. You know, obviously it's a Godzilla movie where he's not really destroying a ton of buildings, and that's okay. I dig it a lot. I think the monsters are very creative. I love Kamacuras. Kamanga's so cool. And Minya, while controversial, I do think works with what they are trying to do. You know, it's supposed to be kind of a kiddie movie, and you know that's fine if that's what you want to make. And I think that Minya works well in that role. His arc throughout the film is actually interesting, and I just love how he goes from being this obnoxious little type weird thing and becoming an actual character by the end of it. It's really neat. Yeah, I think that for the most part, the worst part about Son of Godzilla, though, is the suit. Someone mentioned the suit in the chat, and yeah, it's rough for sure. That kind of knocks it down for me, and the human characters are not good. But I do wish that the island that they're on, I believe I want to say Infant Island. If someone in chat can remind me what island they're on in Son of Godzilla, that'd be great. But the gist of it is that I think that it would be better if the humans were in more sort of danger throughout the film. And what I mean is, it'd be cool if they did like a King Kong type thing, where Skull Island is constantly trying to kill these sailors. It'd be cool if this same island was trying to kill the people that were on there, you know, and have more of that nature taking over type of theme carried throughout. So, yeah, without yapping too much, that's where it's at. It's at C tier. I think it's underrated. People hate on it too much, but it's still not like a masterpiece or anything. Destroy All Monsters. We are going to put Destroy All Monsters at B, borderline C. It's like a B minus. Someone said, this is Hydrano there. They said Solgull Island. If that's the case, then thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, so Destroy All Monsters, it's good, not great. Yeah, it looks like, yeah, Dino Collector, you also say, is it Solgel? Solgel Island? Solgull? Either way, yeah, that's the island. Okay, Destroy All Monsters is, in my opinion, a very flawed movie with a ton of potential. And that was sort of perfected with Final Wars. I think the Showa era in and of itself is very scrappy, but that's okay, because that's just kind of like the whole thing is they're trying to figure out what they're even doing. So with Destroy All Monsters, there's some really great setups. You know, Monster Island or Monster Land is a very interesting way of having all of these kaijus in one spot. Love that. However, it's very boring for the most part. The pacing is god-awful. You get some really awesome openings, you know, where you get the awesome opening where they're going over all the monsters and saying, okay, this is Godzilla, and this is how we keep him on the island. Here's Rodan. See how he tries to fly away? Well, we're going to spray him with some mist. Like, that's awesome. I love that type of setup. I love how they integrate the monsters into the world itself. World building is always a plus for me. So, yeah. However, the pacing is terrible. It's human drama for way too long, and then getting to the final battle itself, the final battle's fantastic, but it's just that, like, oh, Lord Almighty, it takes forever to get there. So, yeah, B tier just because of the pacing and because of the human drama. If it was paced better, it would be higher up, but still, that final battle's incredible. Next up, everyone's favorite. Someone said too many monsters? I don't know how there could be too many monsters in any movie. In Destroy All Monsters, while I do kind of agree that it could be too many, I do wish that the film utilized monsters like Varen more and Baragon, because they just kind of show up. And yeah, no, too many monsters. I kind of see where you're coming from, but at the same time, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, I'm always down for more monsters. They just have to be used correctly, and this one didn't really use them correctly either. So, yeah. Next up, everyone's favorite Godzilla movie. Yeah, someone said really quick before we get into Godzilla's Revenge, the beginning is good, the middle is bad, the end is good. 100%. Yeah, the beginning is fantastic. The little section where they're destroying the cities and that like montage, that's awesome. And the final battle's fantastic. Everything else can just be scrapped. Like, it would be amazing if they didn't pace it like that, if it was broken up, not in that structure. Anyways, Godzilla's Revenge, F tier. Like, this is definitively the worst in the franchise. I know there are defenders of it out there. That's A-okay. I get it. You know, some people really like this movie. Fair. but it is objectively flawed. It is not a good movie whatsoever. It is nothing more than just a clip show. You know, I think if I said this in my Let's Argue, my most recent one, but if you took out all of the stock footage and it was just the original footage, it'd be like 30 minutes. There's no substance whatsoever. You know, I'm seeing people agree with me a lot in here. All Monsters Attack is an awful film, ignoring the good message, says Patrick. And Patrick, I agree with you. The message is good. You know, don't bully. Bullies are dumb. Bullies are bad. I get it. Beat the shit out of your bullies. That's like the message, I suppose. However, well, the message is nice. No, terrible movie. I would love to see it be remade, though. Make it like an animated Netflix sort of thing, like what they did with Ultraman Rising. Make it more kid-centric, and just make it more interesting. If it's animated, you can include more monsters, I believe. I mean, I'm not an expert with animation, but to me, it seems limitless with what you can do with that medium. So, yeah, I say make it animated, remake it. It'd be really awesome. Up next, dude, let's go. Godzilla vs. Ghidorah, S tier. Everyone... You are not ready. You are not ready for my retrospective on this. I have been writing this retrospective for, like, I was in high school when I started writing this. It was junior year for me because this movie I just love so much. Someone said, wait, analog horror too. Just a quick clarification. We're going to do the tier lists, and then we're going to watch some analog horror after the tier list, just to kind of, you know, make it more... diverse with what we're doing. So, Godzilla vs. Ghidorah is the movie that made me want to be a filmmaker. It is up there with King Kong. I mean, I've said King Kong made me want to be a filmmaker, but Godzilla vs. Ghidorah just like opened my eyes with what you could do with the medium of film. It is so experimental, and for me as a child watching it, I was like blown away at how inventive it is, how there's so many different aspects to it where you could watch it and rewatch it, watch it and rewatch it and pick up on it, even like each and every time there's something new. Now, for me, Ghidorah is terrifying. I mean, I have so many Ghidorah figures. I bet I got this guy at G-Fest. So, Ghidorah is terrifying. And on top of that, too, it's just a really well-made movie. Yoshimitsu Banno deserves so much better. The fact that he was banned for making Godzilla movies after putting out Godzilla vs. Ghidorah just blows me away. It is a masterpiece of Godzilla cinema. It is one of my favorites. What I was getting at, by the way, is the script for that video it's probably going to be over an hour long, whereas all my other retrospectives, it's like maybe 20 to 30 minutes. This one's going to be an hour. It's going to be me talking about every aspect of this movie and why I love it. Genuinely, it's one of my all-time favorite movies. Like, it solidified me as a Godzilla fan. I'll quit yapping, but yeah. Godzilla vs. Gigan. Here we go. This one is one of the weirder ones. Has some entertaining moments. However, for me, it's D tier, and I'll explain why. So, this might be kind of controversial. So, first and foremost, Gigan's an incredible monster. I love Gigan. Super unique design. Just very interesting to look at. It's a giant chicken with the saw blades on the chest, and then it's got the hooks for hands. Love it. Now, here's why it's D tier. This movie is a tonal mess. It doesn't know what it wants to be. Does it want to be a kid's movie? Does it want to be more dark, edgy, gritty? It has an identity crisis. And for me, that's why I'm not a big fan of it. The cockroach monster, or the cockroach aliens, are really cool. I love the Godzilla tower, but I just can't fathom why Toho thought it would be a good idea to make a kid's movie and then have Anguirus run face first into a buzzsaw and bleed all over the camera. To me, that's just such a misstep, and it's just a mess. It's a mess of a movie with some very good elements. Up next, we've got Godzilla vs. Megalon, and we're going to put this one here at C, but I think I'm going to put it ahead of Son of Godzilla. So here's the thing. Megalon is super interesting. I got a Megalon figure up there. And actually, you already saw my collection video. If you watch the channel, you might have already seen it. Go check out my toy collection video if you want to see more of my toys. But Megalon's a cool character. But the entire thing is, like, the entire show, the series, the movie, it's Jet Jaguar. It is the Jet Jaguar show. And that is why this movie stands the test of time. Jet Jaguar is so good as a character. needs more appearances. Would love to see Jet Jaguar in the MonsterVerse. The dropkick, I agree, is legendary, 100%. That is one of those moments where it is so weird, yet so fun to watch. I mean, there's a reason why they replay it in the movie. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think that it is a very fun movie. Jet Jaguar is the best aspect of it. Apparently, I don't know 100% this is factually true. It was supposed to be a Jet Jaguar movie, but then they decided to throw Godzilla in there as kind of like we need to get butts and seats and to, sell tickets. So we're going to put Jet Jaguar in this movie. And, we're going to put Godzilla in this movie. That was supposed to be just like a Jet Jaguar thing. But either way, yeah, wish we had, so this person says, wish we had the dropkick from Godzilla vs. Megalon and Godzilla X Kong. Yeah, I agree. This person says, greetings from Peru. Hey, how you doing? And then kid's best intro to Godzilla. For a kid, yeah, Godzilla vs. Megalon is 100% a fantastic gateway into Godzilla for kids. For me, my gateway into Godzilla was Godzilla 98, which we'll get to. And yeah, that was kind of like that first step. And then from there, it was like Invasion of the Astro Monster, even Godzilla's Revenge, which I didn't really watch much as a kid. Hello from Ohio. Yo, shout out Ohio. I'm in Wisconsin, but go Bengals. Hooday. If you're a Browns fan, then I'm sorry for what the Packers did to you. However, I'm a Bengals fan. So, this person says Jet Jaguar could have benefited from having a TV show at the time of the movie instead of Zone Fighter. That seems like a misstep. Like they should have done a Jet Jaguar show and then introduce that, or just make Zone Fighter the Jet Jaguar show. I don't know. This person says stopping in to say hi, like your channel. Hi, how you doing? Thank you very much. I really appreciate you stopping by. But yeah, no, I think that Jet Jaguar deserves to be in more movies. Awesome character. Yeah. We've got Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, which I love this movie. It's going into A tier. So Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, for me, is one of my favorites for sure. It takes the gorier aspects of Godzilla vs. Gigan and just keeps that tone. You know what I mean? It maintains it so that it actually follows through with the entire movie. It doesn't really feel kiddie at any point. I like the human plotline too. It feels very like spy-esque. I love the gorilla aliens. Yeah, it's all around fantastic. Only reason why I don't really have it in S is I don't like how they disrespected Anguirus. I get you had to kill a monster or just wound them so that it shows Mechagodzilla is a tangible threat. Story-wise, I understand that. It just sucks that it's Anguirus. And on top of that, too, pacing-wise, I have an issue with some of it because it feels like nothing really happens for a good stretch. It's right after that sort of like gorilla alien gets thrown overboard on that ship. That whole sort of segment of the movie, it just feels like a snooze fest at points. And you just want to see some more giant monster stuff. But, yeah, super awesome. However, the one that I love more is Terror of Mechagodzilla. Like here, bordering, actually, yeah, we're going to keep it at A. I was going to say S. It borders on S, but Terror of Mechagodzilla, one of my all-time favorites. As a kid, this was what, like, solidified it for me. Like, I love Godzilla. This is it right here. 100%. Like, the movie is so good. Titanosaurus was always one of my favorite monsters. I love that trumpet roar. I love how weird it is, how the fin opens up like that. It's such a cool... Oh, sorry, really quick. Someone just said, King Caesar is a cool monster, but the build to his appearance and actual performance doesn't line up well. Yeah, it's paced out. This is Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. It's paced really weirdly. I feel like it's one of those things where that song goes on for way too long. They should have just made sort of like a tribal type thing, almost like in King Kong versus Godzilla, where they make the tribesmen make King Kong fall asleep. Something like that would have been a lot better. Yeah, so that's probably what I would have preferred. The pacing, like I said, is messy at a lot of points, and that's why it's A. Terror of Mechagodzilla, getting back to it. Titanosaurus is incredible, steals the whole show. I love the opening to Terror of Mechagodzilla, where we see a recap of Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. It's awesome. And the fact that Godzilla solos Mechagodzilla and Titanosaurus in that movie with the help of humans. I get that, but still, awesome. Awesome, awesome. The cinematography is wonderful. The entrance of Godzilla, where the city's like on fire and there's smoke and it's at night, and we hear Godzilla roar. Dude, I got goosebumps just like thinking about this, where then the camera like zooms in on him and we get the Godzilla theme playing slower, and it's like dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun, and it builds up as he goes to fight Titanosaurus. Wonderful. It is like, I have chills just thinking about that moment. It is one of the greatest Godzilla moments ever. This person says, ironically, the downfall of terror Mechagodzilla is Mechagodzilla himself. He feels less than, despite the film being titled after him. Titanosaurus steals the show, unquestionably. Yes. That's kind of what I'm getting at, actually. The reason why it's not S is because Mechagodzilla is just kind of there. This feels more like Godzilla versus Titanosaurus featuring Mechagodzilla. It's kind of its own thing, and the title is a bit off. I do like Terror of. Terror of Titanosaurus would have been so cool, but you got to get butts in seats. You can't call it that because no one knows what that is. But yeah, this person, the Dino Collector says, great send-off for Ishiro Honda. I agree. Patrick says the entrance of Godzilla in Terror Mechagodzilla is way better than King of the Monsters. Yeah, it's the best entrance he's ever had, period. It gives me chills. I think it's up there with Godzilla vs. Ghidorah, where he comes up with the sunset in the background and that goofy music is playing. I love that too, but Terror of Mechagodzilla is just so peak. Love it. Titanosaurus was the size of a mountain in the film. I remember him being big. I remember him like towering over Godzilla, and I always liked that as a kid. Here we go. Return of Godzilla or Godzilla 85. Now, this one, it's been a minute since I've seen this, so apologies for this. We're going to kind of speed through some of these. I'm going to put it at B, borderline C, just because, again, I don't really remember it much. What I do remember is that it was very slow whenever Godzilla was on screen, and it was supposed to be kind of like a remake of 54. I remember in the American version, let's see. Return of Godzilla is an amazing reintroduction to the serious tone of Godzilla. Yes, it does do a good job of reestablishing that tone. I just think that it would have been better if he was paired up with another monster. I get why they didn't do that. It's supposed to be kind of like 54. But again, it's been a minute since I've seen this movie, so we're just going to keep it at B, since I remember it being good but not great. That's kind of where I remember it being. Godzilla vs. Biollante is A tier. We're going to put it right here, I think is a good spot. Someone said I pooed my pant. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Okay. Godzilla vs. Biollante is incredible. It's the best of the Heisei series. Hold on, this person says, controversial opinion. I do find the Japanese version of 84 to be extremely boring. 85 is better paced, and I think it's the better version. I haven't seen the Japanese version. I've only seen the American one with Raymond Burr, so again, I haven't gotten that far. Once I do my retrospective, I'll be better informed on some of this. This is just kind of like just spitballing, but yeah. Anyways, Godzilla vs. Biollante. Dino Collector says that I love Biollante's design and her backstory. Yeah, Biollante's design and backstory is incredible. It's so creative. It's so inventive. I love, love, love it. The rose form is so gorgeous. Fantastic, yeah. So Godzilla vs. Biollante, A tier. Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. Now, this one I'm going to put about here, because I think, yeah, we're going to go about here, I want to say. So, here's the thing with Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah that I'm not a big fan of. The time travel story is wild. Like, it falls apart, and there's so many plot holes, and it doesn't make any sense when you think about it for longer than, like, 5 seconds. This person says, hey, why is Godzilla vs. Gigan so low? You can rewind in the stream, but long story short, the tone is completely muddy. It's a mess of a movie. It doesn't know if it wants to be a kid's movie, doesn't know if it wants to be more serious. And on top of that, too, I just am not a big fan of how there's so much stock footage and all that type of stuff. Anyways, Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. It is a mess story-wise, and it's disappointing because how hard is it to just set up King Ghidorah, comes down from space, Godzilla has to battle him. That should be the movie, but they didn't do that. They did it where there's these Dorats that people from the future replace Godzilla with, and all that type of stuff. It's so confusing and mind-numbingly dumb, and yeah, that's kind of my main issue with that movie, why it's ranked so low, but I do like the battles. I do actually like the Futurians. I like Mecha King Ghidorah. I like a lot of it. It's just the story is what holds it back for me as being, top tier. This person says Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah feels like a Showa film that was made in the Heisei period. Yeah, it does. It feels like something out of the Showa era, but I don't think that's really a good thing, because the point of the Heisei era at first was to like push it forward and to do something new with it and bring it back to sort of like that, not dark, but like take it back to the more serious tone. And with this, they sort of like take a few steps back too far, and we get more goofy, we get more 60s with it. And I just would prefer a straightforward King Ghidorah comes down from space, Godzilla battles him. That's the story. You could do a lot with that premise, I think. Godzilla vs. Mothra Battle for Earth. I don't really remember this one all too much. I own it on DVD. I have to rewatch it, of course, but I don't really remember it all too much. I want to say C. Again, maybe B, but I think I'll keep it more at C just because I don't really remember too much about it. It's not too memorable for me. Batra's cool as shit, though. I love Batra, but yeah, it is what it is. It's in my opinion mid, but I haven't seen it for a while, so take that with a grain of salt. Next, we're going. Hit the mic. Sorry about that. Next, we're gonna go Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2. Excuse me. I'm gonna rank this one at around. I think it's about here. We'll put it in B tier. We'll put it above Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, because I feel like that's fair. Maybe, because here's the thing. I remember liking it a lot. I have to rewatch some of these because it's been a minute, but to me it bounces between like here and here. It isn't better than these, but I know that these aren't A tier. So we're gonna keep it here, but remember with my rankings that like B is like good and up. Like for me, I think that like S is peak, A is great, B is good, C is mid, D is bad, and F is terrible. That's kind of like my rankings, just so we're all on the same page here. I think that the main design of Mechagodzilla 2 is overhated, right? I know I have... Yeah, he's up here. One thing that I like a lot about this specific kaiju is the proportions of the body, right? Like you get rid of the head and it's just this. It looks sick. It looks muscular. It looks like it can beat the shit out of Godzilla physically. But that's the issue, is that he doesn't really fight Godzilla hand to hand, and I wish that we got more combat that way. I just remember there being a lot of like tethering Godzilla, and he shoots foam out of his mouth and he's injured. However, the thing that I just wish it was more focused. That's like my biggest issue with this movie, plot-wise. It feels like they're trying to do way too much with Rodan, with Baby Godzilla, and it all just doesn't really come together in the end in a meaningful way. Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla. Now, this one, it's been a minute, but I remember liking it a lot. Funny story before I rank this. Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, I got at a Menards. Now, if anyone is from the Midwest, then you know what a Menards is. If you're not, it's kind of like a Home Depot, but there's like sometimes two stories. Like there's an elevator in it, and there's all these like home appliances and all this type of shit. I wonder, you know what? I'm not going to look it up because I'm sure my location's going to pop up, and I don't want to dox myself. But the gist of it is that it's a hardware store with 2 levels. It's a wonderful place. Yeah, Oscar, I know you know what Menards is. So anyways, yeah, I got this movie in a Menards when I was like 6. It was in a combo pack with Godzilla vs. Destroya. Those 2 movies I love a ton just because of that. So we're going to put Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla up here at A. I love Mogira. People rip on me because sometimes I say Mogira instead of Mogira, but in the dub, they say either one, so yeah. Anyways, I know that Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla is very flawed. It's a guilty pleasure, and if like nostalgia aside, which I probably should like get rid of my biases here, even though it's my ranking, it should be like here. Like it should be C or D, but I just love so much of it. The music is incredible. I get nostalgia just hearing about it, or sorry, thinking about it. Excuse me, holy. But yeah, no, I love this movie. Space Godzilla is a cool monster. A lot of people hate on Space Godzilla, but I dig it. I love the crystal fortress that he builds around the city. That is so awesome. I love that. And then, yeah, so I'm going to put it up on A for now. Godzilla vs. Destroya is S. I will put it here just because I actually feel like I should maybe put... Yeah, that's controversial. We're going to put Godzilla vs. Ghidorah above 54 Godzilla. This one says, it's funny how Mothra's in the poster. Yeah, no, that is weird. I was thinking about that, actually, when I was looking at the poster. I was, like, trying to remember. I'm like, is Mothra in the movie? And then I remember it's when Mickey's, like, looking out on the cliff, and then she, like, sees Mothra for, like, 2 seconds. That is really stupid. You know what? Just for that, we'll put it there. Because I'm like, now I'm actually mad because I remember as a kid being like, oh, Mothra's in the movie. I'm so excited. And then it was like 5 seconds, gone. Anyways, Godzilla vs. Destroya. Wonderful, heartfelt movie. I have a lot to say about it, which I'm going to try to keep it short because, again, I do have retrospectives coming up. Yeah, so we're going to keep it at S. Yeah, it is an S tier. Sorry. This is peak. This is the best Heisei era movie. It's wonderful. Love, 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 love it. The Godzilla death scene is so heart-wrenching. And the death scene for Godzilla Jr. is so fucking sad. Like, I think the last thing anyone would expect is baby Godzilla fucking dying in a movie. But then, of course, he gets, resurrected and everything. Leslie Chambers Kaiju Review says, Godzilla vs. Destroya, despite a couple of glaring issues, is the perfect send-off movie for a character of Godzilla's caliber. Honestly, if this was the last G film, I would have been perfectly fine with that. Yeah, it's one of the best send-offs to any Godzilla era. I do like Terror of Mechagodzilla a lot, but this one does it really, really well. Yeah, S tier. I mean, it was so famous. Sorry, I'm still like fidgeting with Mechagodzilla 2 here. I'm sorry. I will fidget with Destroya, though, since I do have a Destroya on hand. By the way, really quick, it was on the news that Godzilla died, which I think is crazy and just goes to show how impactful the movie is. Now, Destroya, holy shit, what an incredible design. As a kid, I always loved Destroya. I thought it was just so wicked looking. It looks like the devil. I know that's not a rare thing. Like, I know that's been said before by other people. But it is so out there. It borders on being something from like Ultraman. You know, I love it. I love the tail, how it's like this weird. It's. You know what I just realized now? I think I'm fucking stupid. The tail looks like the aggregate form of Destroya when he's like a little crab. I just realized that. That's crazy. Anyways, yeah, awesome monster design. One of the best, for sure. Oh, no, I'm dropping everything here. Anyways, yeah, awesome monster design, S tier. Someone said I'm in your walls. What? Godzilla 98, dude, this is one of those where it's like, I know for a fact that, there are defenders of it. I get it. It's a good monster design, but a bad Godzilla design. It's a fun monster movie, but a bad Godzilla movie. Everyone says the same shit about it. And I get it. People like this movie. I understand. I have it on VHS. It made me a Godzilla fan when I first saw it, and I wanted to watch more Godzilla movies because of it. But, again, all of these defenses aside that I've heard a million times, it is not good. It's not a good movie whatsoever. The first act is incredible. It's a wonderful first act. The way it sets up everything, amazing. Again, watch my retrospective if you want to hear more of my thoughts on this. Oh, excuse me. Holy shit. Yeah, the gist of it is, I think that it's a great movie. No, I'm losing my mind. I'm sorry. This movie's giving me, like, violent flashbacks. Don't clip that. It's not a good movie. It's a bad movie. The first act is really good until we get to Godzilla actually appearing, and it's Animal where he's holding the camcorder up, and Godzilla's stomping through, and then he almost stomps on him. That's where the movie becomes shit. That is like the point of no return. And it's so disappointing because I'll rewatch this movie like once every like 2 years. And then when I do put it on, it's one of those things where it's like, oh wow, the first act is so good. Holy shit. The opening titles are so awesome. The mystery of what Godzilla is great. It's just one of those things, though, where it's like as soon as that scene with Animal happens where he poof, almost steps on him, it's like, oh, it's gone to shit. Leslie Chambers, Kaiju Review, says, I do believe that the hate is so over-exaggerated. It's okay to hate the movie, but if you hate the movie so much that you make it seem like it burned down your house is crazy. No, okay. I am being hyperbolic a little bit just to be entertaining for the stream and everything, but genuinely, I do think that the hate for it is, like, it's uncalled for the most part, because it's like, someone said size does matter. God damn it. Okay. So here's the thing. This movie came out in 1998. Sorry. It came out 25 plus years ago. It's a quarter of a century. People are still baby raging about it. And I get it. But it's one of those things where it's like, it's not that deep. There are worse movies. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? Hot take. There. It's above Raids Again. It's above Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster. And it's above Godzilla's Revenge. I swear, like, that is actually my feelings on it. I believe that it is not the worst movie in the series. It has some redeeming qualities, but yeah, watch my full retrospective if you want to hear more of my thoughts on it. Godzilla 2000. Godzilla 2000 is such a strong movie. We're going to put it here at A. I love this one. Orga is so cool. I love how it's like a twist almost that there's another monster besides Godzilla, because you're not really expecting it. I feel like every time there's another monster, the movie would be called like Godzilla versus Orga, but they didn't do that. It's so like refreshing just to watch, and it's a wonderful, wonderful movie. It's a great kaiju movie. The design is one of the best. Love it. Godzilla versus Megagearus, we're gonna put in D. I'm gonna put it actually like that, because I do think it's above Godzilla vs. Gigan. Godzilla vs. Megagearus has some really good moments, I will say that. However, my issue with this movie is that it is very forgettable for the most part, and Megagearus is just not a very interesting monster. To me, it's just Batra. You know, it's just, that's all it really is to me. And I wish that there was more to it that made it more interesting, and it just, the fight is boring. Yeah, I kind of forgot about that movie, right? It's one of those where, like, people forget it exists because it's just not good. Megagearus, it just drives me nuts. I'm not a fan. Chat, what's the post-credit scene for Godzilla vs. Megagearus? I've never seen this before. Hold on, this person did a recreation. We're gonna watch it. Why is there? Oh. That rocks. I love that video. Okay. Well, that's all I needed to see. GMK. I feel like many of you have predicted this already. It's S. We're going to put it right there. We're going to put it above Godzilla vs. Destroya for now. The definitive film of the Millennium Era. It's so well done. Godzilla's horrifying in that movie. I do think it's actually creative how they made King Ghidorah a good guy in this. I love some of the bits, right? And what I mean is, there's that bit where it's the young adults, the teenagers, where they're out partying, and they take that little dog and they have it out in the water, and it ends up surviving because Mothra like kills them, or whatever the gist of that is. I love that bit. I think like the way this movie has, like, for example, that guy that tries to unalive himself in the woods, and he ends up encountering King Ghidorah underground, is so cool. I love all the little moments, like, yeah. Anyways, oh, we should do a live voting poll for one of these. Anyway, we'll do that probably for one of the other tier lists. So yeah, S tier 100%. This person says, Alice says, could the Millennium Era work as one continuity altogether? I don't see. When I was a kid, I thought that they did, but it turns out that they don't. I don't think they ever could really work in one continuity, mainly because of the Kiryu duology having its roots in the Showa era, with, you know, continuity and the lore. And Final Wars, it's like that's its own monster, and GMK does its own thing. And I think because they're also self-contained, it's kind of like the Reiwa era right now in Japan, how Shin Godzilla and the anime trilogy and -1 are all kind of their own thing. I remember liking this one a lot. I'm going to have this in A, and we're also going to do Tokyo SOS in A as well, because these two, for me, though I do think Against is better than Tokyo SOS. I have this whole video that's going to be about this, like, sort of duology, and that's it's going to be a long one too, so stay tuned. That won't be out for a while, but yeah, I love these movies. I love how they use the lore from the Showa films and even like Godzilla 98 in a really creative way, in an offhanded reference sort of way. I love it. Okay, here we go. Final Wars, the one that I have the most to say about. Final Wars, S tier, baby. S tier. Dude, so many people are going to be pissed. Let's do this. So, S tier for Final Wars. This movie was my favorite Godzilla movie as a kid. Beyond, Godzilla versus Ghidorah, because that one I love too. But Final Wars was so fun. It was the one that I watched the most because it was just so wild. The human battles and the monster battles were just so good. It's so entertaining. It's one of those where literally you can put this on for anyone and they will love it, either because it's so good it's bad, so bad it's good, or just because it's good. Because it is schlock and I love it. The music is wonderful. It's done by a mix of people, but I believe that Keith Emerson from the prog band Emerson, Lake and Palmer, he did the music for this as well as other people, and I love Emerson, Lake and Palmer. But beyond that, though, this is just a slasher movie with Godzilla going around just wiping everyone out. Gotta love it. Now we got Godzilla 2014. Now, if you've seen my video on this, then you'll know my thoughts, but I like it. It's good. But it's one where I'm not sure where to really put it, because it's kind of here, I think. It's either B or C. We're going to go C just to kind of fill it out. But I do like it a lot. Godzilla's screen time is so lacking. They constantly cut away from all the monster battles, and the human drama isn't exactly the most interesting thing in the world. But when the monster battles are happening, it's incredible. Genuinely, it's incredible. The sense of scale that Gareth Edwards brings to that film is like nothing else I'd ever seen at that point. It's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, Shin Godzilla. We're going to put this at either S or A. I'm thinking we're going to keep it at S for now. We'll move Shin here. Everything about this is great. How it's a critique of bureaucracy in Japan at the time is wonderful. I mean, this thing won an Oscar for a reason. It won, or the Japanese Oscars. It won the Japanese Oscars for a reason. And it's just a really well-made movie. It's well put together. It's very procedural, if you know what I mean. It's very like, it feels like an episode of Star Trek in a way, where they're going over, okay, we have this issue, how do we try to solve it? Well, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. And there is no, I need to go and save my family because I'm in Hawaii and they're in San Francisco. Like, there is no stupid human drama, and it works. It works with what they're trying to do. So, yeah, S tier, 100%. I love how he constantly evolves throughout the film. Anime trilogy. So, some quick backstory. It took me a while to get through these. Like, genuinely. I put on the first one a while ago, like when it first came out, which a while ago was like 8 years ago. I feel old. Not even 8. Holy shit. Anyways. Okay. I put these on and I fell asleep watching the first one, and then the other two I barely remember. What I do remember is I didn't like them. So the first one I was kind of like, it's not terrible. The idea is kind of cool, but that's it. But the rest of these we're going to put here. Actually, we'll put Planet Eater above 98, because I do like the Lovecraftian take on Ghidorah. But yeah, I need to revisit these for sure, but I'm ranking them pretty low because I'm not a fan of these whatsoever. So I don't even know. After we're done with this, I'll show you my old rankings and we'll kind of compare and contrast. Godzilla King of the Monsters. We're going to put this one up at A. We're going to put this here, I think, is a good spot. We're going to put 2000 below the Kiryu movies. And we're going to move some of this around so that it's more... Yeah, that's good. Okay. Yeah, Void Ghidorah is awesome. I love that Lovecraftian sort of vibe. I love that. So, King of the Monsters, again, I already made a retrospective on it, so I'll be brief. Really like this one. It embodies the spirit of the original Japanese movies. in its own kind of like modernized blockbuster way. It's really well made. I love the music, everything about it. I dig so much. So I just wish that the battles were easier to see. That's my only sort of gripe and why it's not S. Here we go. Godzilla versus Kong. Now, we're going to put this one at about either... Yeah, we're going to go B. I think B is, like, low B is a good place to put it. Almost. You know what, though? I like it. We'll move Godzilla 2014 to B, and we'll just sub those in, because I do like 2014 more than Godzilla versus Kong. Godzilla versus Kong is very flawed, but very fun. Again, check out my retrospective on it if you want to know more of my thoughts. Yeah, most hyped movie of 2021, 100%. This movie saved movie theaters. Not everyone talks about that, but it's true. Without Godzilla vs. Kong, like, theaters would probably be in a worse state now than they are. Or worse state than they are now. Sorry. Yeah, I love Godzilla vs. Kong. It's good. Okay. For a Godzilla movie, it's okay. But I still like it because it's Godzilla, if that makes any sense whatsoever. It's C tier for me. It's fun, but it's just kind of meh. Okay, Singular Point, which I haven't yet talked about, is... We'll put it about here. It's better than the anime trilogy because I like the art direction a lot. I like what they did with Jet Jaguar, but it's just not really my thing. That's it. Again, I haven't seen Monarch Legacy of Monsters, so we're going to skip. We're going to go right to -1. -1 for me. Better than 54. It's better than 54. It does 54 better. It's so good. It's, you guys, I know that it's like cool to hate this now, or, you know, whatever. I get, there's like Monsterverse fan. Yeah, Dr. Skipper killed it for me. See, that's the thing. I don't think it's okay, or like, here's the thing. Don't let other people, don't let cringe hate stuff that you like. Like stuff because you'll like it. And for me, that's why I like -1. You know, if that was the case, all I would have to do is go on DeviantArt and look up Godzilla X Mothra, and I would hate Godzilla forever. You know what I mean? Don't let cringe define what you like. Just like it, and don't be a degenerate weirdo. That's my honest to God opinion with this stuff. So with -1, I love it. I'm not going to let any pretentious douchebag who spreads misinformation on the internet, you know, rip out, you know, make me lose love for this movie, because I love it. I really do. -1 is incredible. Yeah, the VFX is insane. I love Godzilla -1. So here's what someone said. Maribel Flores says, I love Godzilla -1, but with everyone turning on it for some reason, it makes me feel bad for liking it. See, that's the thing. Don't let other people define, you know, your taste in things, if that makes sense. So, you know, like I recently in a video, I was talking about Doom Eternal and how I don't like the new Doom games, and how I'm not exactly a fan of modern FPS games in general. Like, it's just not really my thing. And someone was ripping on me as if like that was a personal attack on them, and that, you know, I'm supposed to love it because it's objectively good and all this weird stuff. Yeah, someone said, did I miss something? Because why is everyone hating this movie now? So here's the thing. This is kind of what I'm getting at. There's this weird thing where it's like some random douchebag says, this movie's bad, so I'm just going to try to get everyone to think that it's also bad, even though it's not. It's just so weird to me how, like, easy people's opinions kind of shift on this. And the general gist is, I'm just a guy on the internet. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just some schlubby, fucking stupid idiot who's making videos for people to watch. Like, I'm not an expert in anything, nor is Dr. Skipper, nor is any other just like Twitter user. You know what I mean? So, yeah, YouTube critics don't have that kind of power. I disagree, though. I think that some YouTube critics have the power to change the way that people view movies. And that's kind of like an attitude that I don't like to... That's why I try to keep a lot of my stuff subjective and just say, hey, look, it's my opinion, don't worry about it. But I think that critics absolutely have a way of getting people to think one way or the other if they, you know... So, okay, I'll try to stop generalizing. Let's go more specific here. Look at The Room, for example. That's probably the most, like, extreme example. The Room straight up like became well known to so many people, everyday people, for one reason. It's because YouTube YouTube came out around the same time that The Room did, I believe. And people were covering it, calling it the worst movie ever. And because of that, it has that reputation. Obviously, it's bad. Like that is what it is. But I think that a lot of this sort of like attitude shift just comes from contrarians and people saying that, -1 isn't that good. And maybe it's because they're more of a MonsterVerse fan. I get it. But at the same time, it's just one of those things where you have to, I think that you have to admire it for just how good it is on that type of budget, Anyways, yeah, S tier. Structurally, it's a perfect movie. My only complaint that I have of it is the ending kind of feels like Star Wars A New Hope, where, like, it's like that Death Star, they got to go blow up the Death Star. It's like that type of like setup in a way. But again, it's fine. This person says, it's become a trend to hate on a popular movie after it comes out. Honestly, sucks because people immediately agree. Yeah, I agree with you. It is weird how people turn on it so quickly. And the same with Shin Godzilla. So many people like rip on that movie and they're for no reason, it seems like. It just seems like they're hating it just to hate it. Yeah, I agree a lot. And it's upsetting to me because it's a very well-made, well-written, well-structured, well-paced, well-crafted movie. Beyond Godzilla, it's just a well-made movie. So, yeah. Enough said. I'll make a retrospective on it. If you want to see more of my thoughts on Godzilla -1, by the way, become a channel member. The review's up. We're going to do a members-only podcast soon. Shameless plug. Anyways, Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire. Oh, boy. A lot of you are going to hate me for this. I'm going D tier. And let me explain why. Let me explain. I know that you're going to start freaking out. So, here's the thing. When I first saw Godzilla X Kong, I thought it was really, really solid. I was like, it's kind of a fun throwback to the Showa era movies. It's enjoyable. It has some really funny scenes. Suko, I thought, was obnoxious, but I liked it when Kong threw him around and used them as, nunchucks. So, like that's great. But after rewatching it, I'm like, oh my god, this movie is not good whatsoever. Yeah, it's more of a Kong movie than anything else. And that's kind of my biggest issue with it. And beyond that too, just like the tone of it, I just wasn't a huge fan of. So, yeah. Anyways, I'll make a big retrospective on my thoughts on this. So you'll hear more about it. But as of right now, this is just kind of the tier list, and I'm curious to see. Yeah, let's check the OG. Oh, there's me. Oh my god, my room looks the same. That's funny. I'm wearing a Tampa Bay Rays shirt. Okay. So this is the... Here we go. We're going to get two of me in one frame. Okay, here we go. So, I had 54. Mind you, this was pre-1 and pre-Godzilla X Kong. So, I had 54. Yeah, that's actually... I believe that's the same... That's the exact same S tier. Did I just, like, duplicate my entire list after saying, like, oh, it's, Yeah, I just duplicated it. I did the exact same S tier. Okay. A tier, there are some differences in here. I ranked Godzilla 2014 as A tier. Wow, and this was a year ago. Okay. Okay. I don't entirely disagree with this. Like, I feel like if I saw this, though, Godzilla 85 is way too low. It's way too low. Godzilla again, or that's against Mechagodzilla is also way too low. But beyond that, it's a fine list, I think. I don't really see an issue with it. Yeah, I don't know.